up, guys? It's from the Isaac Indigo podcast. We're back at it again with Wes Paul. We had some technical difficulties, so we had to restart it for a little bit. So we're going to go over how he was able to do credit repair and start his business and also do sales as well. I think I read about that you did sales. You run like
Yes, sir.
sales team. So that's really cool. So we're going to hear his backstory and how we can actually learn to use credit to start a new venture. So let's go ahead, Wes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for having me, Isaac. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
This is take two, but hopefully second time is the charm, right?
yeah.
All right.
All right.
I guess to, introduce myself for your audience, my name is Wes Paul, founder, CEO of Uptrend Credit, credit monitoring and credit improvement platform. We like to consider ourselves like the small brother of Credit Karma,
Mhm.
to better put it. And also, I'm host of the Respect My Blueprint podcast, which is an entrepreneurship podcast where we highlight the successful blueprint of entrepreneurs across all industries, where we share their rags to riches story.
Nice, nice. So I wanted to get right into it of like the strategies and stuff like that, so that way people can implement them as quickly as possible. So that
Okay.
way someone that has bad
Let's get
credit and
to it.
yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. The power of credit. Well, let me go ahead and start off by saying the credit is the most powerful financial tool you can possess in this country. Most people are don't understand credit, don't understand what it takes to have good credit, what is good credit, but most people do suffer from negative credit. So, um, I always have the motto of, had I known what I known today back when I was 18, 19, my life would have been completely different. Most people enter adulthood having no idea about credit
Mm.
until, they go to college, get their first apartment, and, fall under student debt and everything like that. So, credit is very passionate is a subject matter that I'm very passionate about, especially people in the underserved and minority community. It impacts us the most. We're the highest demographics of subprime credit, and I want to be that face of representation where building generational wealth, achieving financial success, achieving financial independence are all pillars that require credit to be the ultimate foundation of.
Nice, nice. And how can someone, protect their credit score from being negative and impacting them, from student loans and stuff like that?
To protect your credit score, generally first things first, we referenced this in the last take, but staying on top of your credit. And that can be in many different forms and fashion. Number one, I think there's a lack of awareness of people staying on top of their credit, monitoring it. Credit
Mhm.
monitoring is actually a term within our industry, and that involves basically, you know, staying on top of your credit, seeing what's being reported, seeing what's not being reported, seeing what's impacting your credit score in a positive and negative way, right? Once you have your target in sight, it makes it a lot easier for you to achieve your objective, right?
Mhm.
So that's first and foremost. Obviously, there's also other tools to answer your question specifically as far as protecting your credit due to the high amount of fraud and a lot of these institutions, the breaches, they've experienced. Congress have enacted laws that you know that enable free credit monitoring. So basically,
Mhm.
what I'm trying to say here, there's no excuse for individuals to be able to access your credit score or credit report, as you have the ability to get access to your credit report once every week. So you can
Mm.
actually every 7 days get a copy of it. And with these two bits of information, knowing that you can get your credit report absolutely free, and also placing a free credit freeze on your credit report. So to answer your
Mhm.
question, placing a free credit freeze, that's what I meant to say
Mhm.
is, By allowing that you're being preemptive and allowing any fraudsters or identity thieves to be able to go ahead and compromise your credit, as well as, again, in conjunction of staying on top of it. There's nothing better than you monitoring it so you could, prohibit any of that type of behavior as well too.
Hmm. I wanted to ask about, like, say, what does it take or how long does it take someone to be able to go from, you hear about like platinum cards or black cards and stuff like that. I was always curious about that, like how long it would take for someone to, or how they could get started,
Good
getting one of those.
and good question, and I like to share this analogy or share this thought where it takes individuals, months, weeks, and years to achieve bad credit, but they
Yeah.
expect to go ahead and build good credit overnight,
Yeah.
right? And that is not the case.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, it takes sometimes longer to build good credit than to achieve bad credit. So to get some of these black cards, platinum cards, and these high net worth cards, number one, not only would you need to have a good credit score,
Mhm.
right? But more important, you need to have the profile to match the score.
Mhm.
And the profile includes, length of credit. In other words, you cannot roll out of bed yesterday, get a 700 credit score, and
Yeah.
expect to get approved for a high net worth credit card. The institution is going to say you're new to this game here, right?
Mhm.
uh, and also, making sure that you're responsible, payment history. So with those two things, so that lets you know time is a requirement. In other words, you cannot within 30 to 45 days expect to be able to wipe everything off your credit, add a couple of things, and expect to get approved for high limit credit cards. It just doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
Think about it. If you owned a bank and somebody, fresh into the credit world, would you trust them with a $50,000 credit limit?
No.
Probably not. You probably start them off with a 500 or 1,000 to see how they are.
Yeah.
And then after a few months and you see that they're responsible, you'll increase them to that higher limit. So that's sort of
Mm.
a better, view as far as what it would take to be able to get these high net worth cards.
And for those cards, do you have to have like big asset purchases, and like seeing how long you've had those asset purchases? Like, say someone buys like a house or a really expensive car, and then the length of paying that off for like say 3, 4, 5 years, and that you paid everything on time, but it was also like a big asset or a big purchase. Is that like how you can do that, or like you have to have a obviously a business as well? It's like having a business would
Right.
be
Under,
faster.
well, well, having to answer your question specifically, your spending history does play a big factor on ultimately your credit line. Again, right out the gate, like I said, unless you have a long history or of credit, right out the gate is highly unlikely you're going to get a high limit credit card.
Hmm.
But because you don't get a high limit credit card, that shouldn't discourage you, right? You don't have to go out and make, I guess, unnecessary purchases to be able to get that. Just being responsible. In other words, making sure your utilization is below 30%, making sure that your payment is paid on time and not just the minimum payments that you're paying, at least 80 to 90% of the overall balance on a monthly basis. Following these steps here, that is the more important thing versus the amount of your purchases. Now, of course, if you're talking black card, American Express Gold card, Platinum card with 50, $100,000 limits, of course, the higher your purchases and the frequency of those purchases do play a big factor.
Mm, okay. And then tell us the importance of like the significance of a UEI number in financial
UEI.
management.
Okay. Um, well, there's several numbers that's out there, right?
Hmm.
There's EIN number, which is the employer identification number. You get that for free from the IRS. That allows you to establish a business, be able to go ahead and open up a business bank account and everything. There's also a DUNS number, which is Duns and Bradstreet,
Mhm.
and also the UEI number, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the Uniform Employment Identification Number.
Mhm.
Now, that is issued, if I'm not mistaken, from the U.S. government in order to be able to bid for contracts and grants and everything like that. Though that's not my wheelhouse, but what I am aware is that the government has recently made changes where, if I'm not mistaken, in addition to registering your business with the state, you must register it with the federal government due to the Corporate
Mhm.
Transparency Act. So registering your business with the federal government also serves as, fulfillment of the UEI number. The UEI number comes into place, to answer your
Mhm.
questions, when you're looking to get federal grants or federal contracts from the federal government there. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. So it's not necessary, but if you're looking to enter that world, which I encourage every business owner to, there's no better money than government money out there.
Mhm.
Definitely get a UEI number.
I was gonna ask you, do you have to leave right now?
Uh, no, we could go another 10 minutes. We could go another
Okay.
10 minutes. Yeah.
All right then. And what are your thoughts, on class action lawsuits against major banks for unethical practices? Like, how are they
Um,
able to get away with, you know, um, with
well,
what they're doing? You know.
to answer the question, to get away with it, right? That's a rabbit hole that we can go down to, and I got many different answers for that. How they're getting away with it. Of course, you could go back to 2008 with the bailouts of these banks and everything like that.
Hmm.
Or you could say they're too big to fail. You could say that they're pretty much running the country or the world, whatever you want to categorize it.
Yeah.
I think all of it is right in a sense. But
Hmm.
to answer your question, how they're able to get away with this is, number one is a combination of what I just said, but also number two, lack of information and lack of alternatives, right?
Hmm.
If there was a time in this country where individuals like us or demographics like us, we would be able to go ahead and seek alternatives. Black Wall Street, we'll be able to go ahead and seek life insurance. We'll be able to seek other funding options and things like that, community
Hmm.
based options. And this will go ahead and put pressure on these banks for them to go ahead and behave the way they are. But I feel like because there's a lack of information, a lack of awareness, a lack, or there's just pure indifference between
Yeah.
individuals, these banks are just going to keep doing what they do and get away with it, unfortunately.
Mm. Yeah. That's a shame.
It is. Yeah.
And how would these banks like be able to evade consequences despite like engaging in such practices? Like how what's the process of them doing it? Like they send debt collections, or they gather information from their clients and then they send like I'm because I'm not really sure. I kind of like saw a little bit of like videos of what you posted and stuff, like
Right.
your thoughts on it. So like
Okay.
what's the process that they're doing to like go ahead and start that with their clients from their accounts and stuff.
Well, here's the thing. Most people are unaware of this, but it takes 3 months to be in delinquency with an institution in order for you to be considered, a bad account, right?
Hmm.
Which a bad account at that point, they place you in collection status, which eventually a charge off status. Once you get to collection status, then that means that the institution have went ahead and deemed that you're a delinquent account, and they're just going to go ahead, close the account, and attempt to collect on what you owe on it. When they charge it off, which is generally 3 to 6 months afterwards, that's when the institution has written off the debt.
Hmm.
Has written it off their books and everything like that. So with that being said, because of this system of the charge off and the collections and everything, you're not these institutions are going to keep behaving the way they are. My best advice to the audience is, avoid that. There's plenty of ways where you can avoid doing so. Number one, again, staying on top of your credit. Once you stay on top of your credit, then that allows you to budget, which is that's number two. Most people don't know how much they most people know how much coming in, but they don't know how much going out, right?
Yeah.
Coming in is your paycheck, but what you're spending every day on subscriptions and utilities and bills and day-to-day expenses, people doesn't, you can't conceptualize that. So once you're able
Mhm.
to budget, then that avoids you falling into the trap of what I've just shared with you of getting into collection charge-offs, being drowned in interest rate from these credit cards and everything like that. Because nonetheless, I could understand it. It's their responsibility. They loaned you the money. You're irresponsible with it. You have to pay it, right?
Mhm.
But again, we can definitely change that narrative just by small, simple steps and habits, staying on top of our credit, making sure that we have staying below our means
Mhm.
until we're able to go ahead and save up to get to the next step. A lot of us in 2024 aspire to become side hustlers, to be able to go ahead and build generational wealth.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't subscribe to the narrative of working 20, 30 years to a job and
Yeah.
wait for a pension and a retirement. So
Mhm.
obviously COVID has broke that model there. So, you know, in order to be able to achieve the new modern era American dream, right?
Mhm.
You have to be able to go ahead and understand these habits of staying on top of your credit, learning how to budget, and being able to go ahead and grab hold and take control of these things so it could put you in position of being able to start up your side hustle, scale your side hustle, grow your side hustle. As we all know, over half of the business in this country fail within the
Yeah.
first 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. And what is like some excellent, people that have really good credit scores? What are some opportunities and advantages that are available for them? What can someone that has really good credit, what can they start doing? Or
Oh wow, there's really nothing they cannot do, right?
Mhm.
Uh, having a I like to say having a 700 credit score is equivalent to having, $100,000 or having a
Mhm.
million followers on social media,
Mhm.
right? This is, that unseen currency that allows you to do something that I like to say is leverage. Credit,
Yeah.
that's what it is, allows you to leverage. So having credit allows you, not only it dictates your home ownership, investments, entrepreneurship, lifestyle, living, housing. It plays a big deal even other things such as education, where your kids go to school, insurance, employment, right? Half the jobs in this country checks your credit before you apply. Almost every housing circumstances check your credit, whether you're renting an apartment or buying a home. Transportation, the interest rates you pay on these things, the whether you pay a deposit on utilities, you know,
Yeah.
you go down the list. That's why I started this episode by saying credit is the most important financial tool you will possess in this country. So, therefore, to answer your question specifically, those who have a 700 credit, every one of them are smiling from ear to ear, and because they have
Yeah.
understand that fact there.
Mhm. What's some like some passive income things that someone can do? Like I know that you could probably flip houses or
Right.
start like a rental company or something like that with credit. Because a lot of those
Absolutely.
um, models of rental to like that type of like
Right.
businesses, they're able to use a lot of credit. So what's someone that you've worked with, what kind of businesses have you noticed um, really excelled with using credit that you like personally with your working with you and stuff? So
To there's a lot of opportunities out there that credit will allow you to take advantage of. There's the staples like very broad, like you said,
hmm
transportation, real estate, uh um you know uh uh, uh e-commerce and things like
hmm
that. But with credit, not only allows you to tap into these lanes, but it even allows you to get into some of these subcategories where it's a lot easier because, of course, you don't need perfect credit to get into things such as wholesaling,
Hmm.
Airbnb, or even if it's a transportation, getting to the trucking business or Toro, right?
Yeah.
Um, Purchasing a private ambulance company, peer to peer, like as I just mentioned, Toro, but even in the trucking business, being a dispatcher or freight broker and things of
Hmm.
that nature, right? So you don't necessarily have to purchase a vehicle to be able to tap in these lanes, take advantage of it, right? Whether you have good credit or not, you could be able to tap in these lanes, uh, make some money, get your feet, get some experience under your belt. Then, as you're building your credit, it allows you to get to the next level. Whether, if you're in real estate, you can buy that initial property. If you're in transportation, you could get your fleet of trucks or vehicles and really scale up to the next level.
Hmm.
So, I say all that to say this day and age, there's no excuses because the power of information is right in our hands. And
Yeah.
now, with the introduction and the explosion of AI, it makes it even a lot more easier and faster in which you'll be able to go ahead and go down a rabbit hole, shovel out the dirt, and make it do what it do.
Hmm. So, what would you say is some challenges like with your journey of starting your business?
The challenges, of course, there's trials and tribulations on everything. There's,
Hmm.
you know, I tell, some of the trials and tribulations that I've experienced, me specifically, just, you know, number one, life. Life is always under construction. So 100% of things don't never happen 100% of times,
Hmm.
right? So you're going to have unexpected situations, Um, and business, there's always, it's like the stock market. The stock, although the stock market is going up, it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So throughout that
Hmm.
journey, it's been the same way. I can't name them all. You name it, I've probably experienced it. Financial hardships, uh, um, you know, personnel issues, right? Problems with the team, product issues, supply chain, you name it. More than likely, I have experienced it, or if you're an entrepreneur watching this show, you've experienced it as well too. So it's just being able to have the wherewithal, having the fortitude, having the determination, and more important, like my platform and my shirt says, the first word, blueprint. If you have a blueprint, a map, a vision of anything, it doesn't matter what side road that life or throws at you, you'll be able to get back on that main road again and get to your destination.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And how can individuals like leverage their life experiences to aspire and guide them towards success with credit? I know that um, you've explained some examples, but um, like say someone wants to do like social media, would the creditors like not be able to give them funding for something like that, like, or does it have to be something that has like assets or something like a physical product?
That's a good question. That's the first time to answer your question. No, as I'm aware, there's no lenders that will, extend you credit based upon your social status,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, there's, believe it or not, for those who not aware of economics, China has implemented this system with, the social credit score. They've been pilot
Yeah.
testing this system for about a couple of years now. So I wouldn't be surprised if some form of it is not introduced into the United States.
Hmm.
When if and when that happens, I can see where your social status will determine, whether you can get funding or not. But here in the United States, it still goes back to your credit score, right?
Yeah.
So whether you're popping on IG or not, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and everything in between is going to check that credit score just to see if they want to loan you money or not.
Yeah. Have you seen the episode of Black Mirror?
Black Mirror, no, I haven't caught it. Fill me
Um,
in.
is Black Mirror is basically like it's not like conspiracies, but it's like something that's kind of super like controversial or slash conspiracies of what might happen in the future, and then
Right.
they basically bring that in to like this day and age. So there was an episode on Black Mirror where a lot of Americans were based off of their social status, and that was being able to have them that get better jobs, even to be able to eat, like even normal things like
Yeah.
go into businesses. And the people that have the lowest social status, they were basically like homeless, and
Right.
they had to like beg for clout basically in order to even go inside a building. It was pretty crazy.
That's great. Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that, like you said, the movie or that picture there, you Black Mirror. Again,
Hmm.
this is happening in real life in China, right? And they've been
Hmm.
doing this for quite some time. If you want my honest opinion, I don't see that coming in the United States just for the two documents of which is the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, right? You
Hmm.
know, over in China, you have the Chinese Communist Party. You have a authoritative government there that pretty much makes all the rules. Where here in the United States, it's a full fledged democracy. So, the only time I've seen this country collectively have been complicit on something was the initial lockdown, where they told
Hmm.
everybody go home and put your mask on. I dare the government tell everybody that you cannot do something just because how you behave in society. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't see that happening here.
Yeah, yeah. It's just something to. It's just some, just to talk about.
No, of course, I mean, that's what some of these guys there, fear porn is what they sell. Obviously,
Yeah.
Donald Trump gave us 4 years of that, right? So,
Hmm.
but again, in the practical terms, I can't imagine that happening in the United States because, man, just we ain't built like that here in the
Yeah.
U.S.
Yeah. So, but we're gonna come to a closing because I know that you have to
Yes, I do
go. It's
have to
been over the
run.
10 minutes. But if there's anything that you would like to plug, I just want to say that I appreciate you coming on. I know there was some technical difficulties and stuff like that, and glad that we kind of got through it and were able
Yeah.
to still restart. So,
No,
go.
absolutely, Isaac. As a matter of fact, if we, I would love to do a part two, and so if time permits, we could do a larger segment for your audience.
Hmm.
One thing I like, you know, if anybody that's stayed to this part that's watching, I love to give game. I love to educate. I love to inspire. I love to teach. Because again, I'm a father. I have kids, young kids and teenagers, and I really move under this motto. Like, had I known what I know today when I was younger, I would have been a different person, including all of the mishaps and bad things that happened to me. So,
Hmm.
I make it my lifelong purpose to help a lot of individuals avoid those same tracks that I took. So, thanks for having me on the show. Definitely would like to do it again. For 2024, I
Hmm.
want everybody to just, follow the podcast if they can, respect my blueprint. We're on all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes. Um, you could also follow me on all social media platforms: Blueprint Mastermind, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, so on and so forth. And last but not least, Uptrend Credit. Uptrend Credit is our credit monitoring and credit improvement platform. What separates us from the competition, I didn't mention this, is that aside from being able to check your credit score and your credit report, you'll also receive a copy of your credit grade. A credit grade, which is A to F system that's we've invented inside of Uptrend Credit, is gives you people an easier way to understand what credit is. In other words, most people may not know what a 670 represents, but they know what a C minus is, right? So
Hmm.
it's easier for people to understand credit, especially in the land of immigrants. People come in this country from another country, not
Hmm.
understanding the most important financial tool of this country.
Yeah. That's true. That's awesome. That's awesome that you're helping others and being able to, excel other people and stuff. So, I'm really honored to have you on, and
Thank you.
that'll be our closing closing statement. You guys can go follow him, Wes Paul. I'll have all the links in the description as well. And see you guys later.
Take care, guys. Thanks for
All
having me.
right.
Bye bye.
Have a good one.
You too.